Okay, so I'm going to go through a quick market analysis with you and just some different trends that we're seeing in the Tri-County area. So, and this is going to be of a basic tutorial for Rachel too, um, on how to access this information. So, first of all, when you log into MLS, you can go to Trends. And then once you're in the Trends report, let me go down here and open this up. You're going to see data for Sacramento County. And one thing I do is I go in and I select Sacramento, Placer, and El Dorado counties so we can really dive into the Tri-County area. Then I'm going to look at single family homes. Basically, I like to look at a 5 to 10 year to even 15 year range. And so I'm going to look at 15 years because um, it's going to encompass all the way back to 2003. So this way you can really see from the boom of the market through the bubble, through the crash, all the way to today. And we're going to look at no really particular square footage, short sale, REO. We're just going to look at all properties in this price range. So let's go to show chart. So now that we see the chart, you can really see here that you see a pattern, right? It's you see right when the bubble started to burst, you started seeing an increase in inventory, which is where all these short sales, foreclosures lingered into here. Just everybody needed to offload their house because they were just so underwater. And here's where you start to see the boom and then the bubble. And you start to see this again in early 2014, all the way to 2018 now, where you start seeing this trend line of pending. And let's go click on for sale, sold, pending, and new listings. So there's that pattern there where you see a nice little dip here in new listings from a quarterly basis. But then once we go to month in a 5-year perspective, you'll see a little bit different story, which is why you can't just look at one screen and get the entire picture. So from a 15-year standpoint, you can kind of see that everything's pretty status quo. You see these patterns, especially starting in 2012, that new listings are gonna they go up, then they're gonna go down, then they're gonna go up, then they're gonna go down, and the pendings are pretty status quo. The solds, the for sales, we had a lot more inventory back in 2014. You see a shortage of inventory here, and the average price per square foot, right? You go back to the boom, and then you see the bubble where home prices were just ridiculous. And then now you see this dip, and now you start to see that average price per square foot for the entire Tri-County area go starting to increase. And it didn't increase at a huge rapid rate, but it is increasing gradually over an extended period of time. And, are we going to get to this point again? Probably not. Hard to say. With interest rates being so low, it is very possible. And we're not seeing a huge increase in home prices right now. You see days on market. Days on market are starting to increase for a quarterly standpoint. You see the average price to sold. You see that sellers think that they're going to get more for their house, and in reality, they're getting less for their house versus what it's on the market for versus what it's selling for. And then from a 15-year standpoint, you look at the inventory. You can see that we're still at a historic low of inventory. Supply and demand. This is a great thing to show listings, right? Supply and demand. Do you want to wait till the market goes up in summer and have more competition? So let's go to a 5-year period for the Tri-County area. And this is what I like to look at because it's a little bit more in detail, not just from a quarterly standpoint, but on a month-to-month basis. So we'll go back to for sale and the listings. So right here, you look at even all the way up to March and February of 2018. Very similar pattern with listings. Very similar pattern over the last 5 years. Similar pattern with for sales, for solds, and pendings. Right? I mean, you can't deny this data. And this is why data is so important when you're talking to a client, whether it's a buyer or seller. This is what's huge. And right now, you see where we're currently at, April. This is data for February and March. You see that spike of new listings right? You see that little spike and then a little dip here. You also see the same spike and that little dip there, exactly right around the same time frame. So we're going to start to see more and more listings hit the market as we get into spring and summertime, which is going to create more competition and for listings. And on top of that, you're going to see more competition for buyers. And, interest rates may start to go up over the summertime. They may not. They may go up a little bit. They may jump. I don't anticipate them jumping. But based upon this data, I can definitely see that listings are going to be increasing. So are for sales, homes that are going on the market and that are going into contract. So the average price per square foot, you see a steady climb over the next 5 years. And you see that little dip, right? We're staying right where it needs to be from an average price per square foot for the entire Tri-County area. You see you look at the chart down here, current versus 1 month ago, up about 9%. You see, if you go all the way back and you see current versus 12 months ago, you see a 35% increase as the same the same 12 months 4 years ago. So you're seeing a very, very consistent appreciation of home values. And again, we want to advise our clients, especially sellers, that pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. Don't be greedy. Don't try to time the market. Don't try to sell it. Because realistically, by the time they even get into contract, it's 30 to 45 days ahead of time. So we want to use this data to their advantage and educate them on this is what we see. And this is what every other agent is showing their clients if they're smart. Days on market, we're starting to see an increase in market because homes are being overpriced. Agents are pricing these homes overpriced. Or for more expensive homes, they're balancing out that average because of, because they're a higher price point and it's taking longer to get into contract. And so you're starting to see a lot more luxury homes hit the market. And then from an average price per sold, you see that little increase. So sellers are still expecting to get more for their homes. Let's take Dashwood, for example. They want to get more. Their house is sitting on the market longer. And we're literally in a $5,000 to $10,000 to $15,000 difference of what's realistic and what the seller wants. And typically, on average, they're getting less. And it's not a little, it's a significant decrease in what they think they're going to get versus what they actually get. Months of inventory, you see that spike again, right on time with where it needs to be as far a year ago. Even back to this year, it's right within that same quarter where you start to see that spike in inventory. Sun's out and people want to get their homes on the market because they think that it's going to sell quick. And realistically, if it's priced right, it will. There's less competition and neighbors are really setting the market. So people that are going to market first are setting the market versus allowing their neighbors to take control and set the market for them. So from a very high level overview, you can even get down to 1 year if you choose to, or even 2 years, and see what that looks like. You can see, there's not too many short sales or REOs now, so we don't need to worry about that. But even if you just look at a 2-year time frame and really compare it one by one and just year by year, it's going to see the same pattern, right? Dead on the same pattern. You see that spike in inventory, it's going up. You see homes that are actually selling. So here you're seeing more homes that are hitting the market, and about 60 to 65% of them are actually selling. But you're going to see that spike in pending, which means that buyers are out looking at homes that are writing contracts. So with all of this data said, we really need to educate our sellers that now is the time to sell if you're even remotely curious about selling. Can you make a little bit more money if you wait a few months and wait for your neighbors to justify or determine the market? Perhaps. Right now, we know the market. We know exactly where prices are at. We know exactly what we can sell their house for, and it's not a gamble. This is making decisions based on data and information that we know. If they wait, they're making a decision based off emotion and they're gambling. So now we have information that if somebody wants to sell, we know that now is a great time. Their home is already appreciated, especially if they've owned it for 5, 10, 15 years. We know if they bought it at a right price, they should have equity. If they didn't refinance the shit out of it, then we know they're going to have equity. So just from an average standpoint, this is the Tri-County area. We know that things are moving. We know that homes are going to be hitting the market, and we know that there's going to be an increase in inventory. Going back to the MLS really quick, I have set up my 24-hour market watch, which you can do in your MLS, and I believe it's in your preferences, and you can set up what areas you want. This is for the Tri-County area. And so just so you can see this, and it relates to what we just went over in the trends graphics, is in the MLS, just in the last 24 hours, 156 new homes hit the market. 156 homes hit the market just in this 24-hour period. 6 price increases, 62 price reductions, which means that people are listing their homes for way too much. And just in 24 hours, 62 homes in the Tri-County area dropped their price. 161 homes went pending. So look at it this way. If 156 new homes hit the market and 161 homes went into contract and 109 homes sold, that's why inventory is so low, because we're selling at this point, based upon the last 24 hours, we're selling more homes than homes are hitting the market. But we're going to see that spike in new inventory, which is going to give buyers a lot more options, which are going to make them potentially a little bit more picky, and keep them on the fence, right? But if prices continue to go up through the summertime, it's going to alleviate or reduce their buying power if interest rates go up and home prices go up, because then they can afford, they won't be able to afford the same amount of home. They have to decrease their expectations and their price point. So hopefully this helps. If you go into, I believe, your preferences, I think that's where you can see your 24-hour market watch. So if you go into here, you'll be able to see a 24-hour market watch. You can create it right here, 24-hour market watch areas. Click on there and you can select what areas you want to see. Basically, I believe this is all of Sacramento, Placer, and El Dorado. They're all checked. And so basically that's a search that I'm looking at for my 24-hour market watch. So just keep an eye on this data. Use the trends graphic report, especially when you're educating buyers and sellers during listing appointments, buyer consultations, because this is information that I can guarantee you 9 out of every 10 agent is not showing or educating their clients on this information, which is detrimental to their success in achieving their goal, whether buying or selling. So hopefully this helps, and feel free to share this with clients, even if you would like to. All right.